Bonjour, y'all! My name is Brita, and today on Witches Unite, I have a very special guest, Kris from Wizard Way.
Hi, everybody!
So Kris is coming up for DragonCon this weekend.
I am. First time.
So we're hanging out in Georgia, and obviously we're talking all things Harry Potter, and also the greater wizarding world.
Yes.
And one particular thing, which is maybe not the best in the wizarding world, and that is the representation of LGBTQ individuals.
Yes, like myself.
And also me. So, we are going to talk about kind of first the representation or lack thereof in the original 7 books. We're going to talk a little bit about what J.K. Rowling has said outside of the books, and then we're going to talk about Fantastic Beasts and where to find them, like my book right here, and that whole cool movie franchise.
Yes, very excited for that.
Yes, me too. Okay, so Kris, why don't you tell us a little bit about the total lack of representation in Harry Potter books?
It's abysmal, to put it in a single word. Really, as an LGBTQ individual myself, I identify bisexual. I'm also on the trans spectrum. I'm a bit complicated as an individual, but to see nobody in the wizarding world that I can even remotely identify with on that plane, it was very upsetting. And I'm one who actually waited to read the books until the 7th book was coming out. So I was in college when I actually read all of the books straight through, and I was really sad that there was nobody that I could identify with in the books. I wanted so badly for, I don't expect a lot of trans characters in young adult fiction. It's just not done very often. It should be, but it isn't. But to not even have even your token gay character until after the fact, which is what we'll get into.
Right.
It was disheartening. Really disheartening.
Yeah, I wasn't out as bisexual yet when I was reading the Harry Potter books. I didn't come out until several years after the last Harry Potter book came out. But certainly in the books themselves, I mean, it was very heteronormative.
Very.
And the epilogue especially, like, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal if there weren't really good characters in the main 7 books. Mm-hmm. Because the romantic relationships are a very small part of the series itself.
That's true. They don't necessarily take front and center, but they're kind of constantly in the background, especially with the slow burn that is Hermione and Ron.
Right, definitely.
Which, people may debate whether or not that was supposed to be a thing or not, but if we're looking at it as an intentional relationship that was built over time, it's a slow burn constantly in the background.
Yes. Draco, like, everyone else eventually gets paired off with a heterosexual partner.
Of course.
In the epilogue, and then also in the additional information that we've gotten over time, like Neville ends up with Hannah.
Yeah.
And
everyone basically gets paired off like we're in Shakespearean lit again, in a Shakespearean comedy. Everybody gets married. Like
everyone has
to get married.
Everyone has to get married.
Even if it's the most ridiculous thing.
I think Charlie Weasley is still single. So
Charlie Weasley, okay.
Yeah. So
because he loves his dragons.
So maybe we could be like, all right, he's asexual, and
that'd be fantastic.
Honestly, I think that would be great.
That would be fantastic.
If Charlie could be asexual.
And plausible.
Totally plausible.
Like, plausible. Like
in a family of Weasleys where literally every single one of them is married, and he's not.
Mm-hmm. It's plausible. What I do like is that while a lot of the characters were officially paired off, anyone who was a minor character, there is wiggle room, but it's all in the fans' imaginations. Like, would I prefer it be out there and official? Absolutely. I think representation is really important, and a lot of times there's a lot of erasure in the science fiction fantasy genre.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So it would be really, really great to see more representation in an out and open franchise that is so vastly popular. But if that's not a given, then at least we do have a little bit of wiggle room in the characters that are not completely fleshed out. So I do like the little fan theories that, you know, oh, maybe this character is a lesbian, maybe this character is bi, you know, I like hearing that.
Oliver Wood, gay Oliver Wood.
Absolutely. Why not?
Totally ship that.
Oh, that would be great.
I didn't really know who his partner should be, but yeah.
I always thought that the Weasley twins, that Fred and George, might be bisexual. The thought that maybe, you know, they were so close with Dean, maybe there was something there at some point between one of them or both of them.
Apparently there is a very popular Harry Potter theory that Dean and Seamus had a full-fledged relationship at some point, and Harry is just so oblivious that he just doesn't even know.
And that's the way that the books were written does allow for a sort of unreliable narrator.
Oh, yes, definitely.
It does allow for an unreliable narration, so we are so deep in Harry's perspective about everything that whatever he wouldn't notice, we wouldn't notice.
Right.
This is why some of the foreshadowing does get fudged a little bit, especially in the earlier books, because you couldn't work it in with an 11-year-old's mentality. Mm-hmm. So that sort of thing, I can understand why there could be things hidden in the background that Harry wouldn't have known, much like the Dumbledore thing, which is a great segue.
A great segue, actually. Very well done. So, of course, at some point in the last several years, there was a fan who did specifically ask J.K. Rowling, like, oh, you know, did Dumbledore date anyone? I know that there was some fan fiction with Dumbledore McGonagall.
Oh, yeah, Minerva.
Right, yeah,
absolutely.
And J.K. Rowling was like, actually, he was gay, and he was in love with Grindelwald.
Very sort of just off the cuff, just, oh yeah, you know.
BT'd up, like, you know.
Yeah. and that was a bit striking. I think, you know, a lot of people started burning their books because of that comment. But really, it was great to have a bit of representation. There was debate in the LGBTQ community as to whether or not that was just a token gesture of, look, I'm so LGBT positive, let's make one of the main characters gay, because I didn't. But J.K. Rowling has been quite an advocate since. Again, there's debate on sincerity behind such things. Right. But ultimately, she says the character is gay, therefore she is the god of her universe, and Dumbledore is gay.
Right.
And I'm all for it.
Certainly, I think it adds a lot more complexity to his relationship with Grindelwald and that whole backstory. I mean, rereading Deathly Hallows is just completely different.
I'm getting there. I'm still on Goblet of Fire. I'm on book 4, but I am rereading, and I really want to get to Deathly Hallows so I can reread
with that perspective.
Details with that perspective.
Yeah.
Because, again, the first time I read things, I was still on my own personal journey with identity. So I didn't really come at it with that lens. And I binged Deathly Hallows in 2 days. So I probably didn't retain too much of it. Let's be real. But I really do look forward to reading it with a more LGBTQ lens, because I'd love to bring a little bit more conscientiousness to the prose. You know, if she had intended that, then there can be things read between the lines.
Right.
And that's what I enjoy about Dumbledore being gay, because you look at the past, especially with the way that it's coming out through Fantastic Beasts, and there's a lot more depth that is there because of that element to the relationship.
Yes. Which is another great segue.
I'm good at
She
those.
is so good at this. So of course we have one film out so far in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and the next one is coming out in November.
November 16th. Can't wait.
Okay. She has a memorize, I don't. And there'll be a total of 5 movies. Okay, so things might have changed a little bit because the battery on my camera ran out, and then we had dinner, and this is a table where we're sitting, so everything got moved around for us to eat dinner.
Yeah, so
I'm not even sure if this is facing the same way as it was earlier.
I think we're good.
This is behind the scenes of filming YouTube videos.
Take 2. And go.
Yes. So we were just about to talk about the Fantastic Beasts films and whether or not we will see any sort of LGBTQ representation. Like we were talking about, according to J.K. Rowling, Albus Dumbledore was in love with Grindelwald.
Yes.
that should affect the movies.
Yes, I mean, honestly, when you look at the sort of three-dimensional building of Dumbledore as a character, this does play into a lot of, past feelings coming to the fore. The reason why he cannot face Grindelwald is because he has a past with him. Now, details we don't know yet, but fans like myself who are really looking for some representation are really, we are crossing our fingers, hoping that there will be, not necessarily, we're not looking for anything explicit, but something where it's there. It's present.
And a little bit more than a wink and a nod.
Yes. No more winks and nods.
Because, I'm a little tired of, what would you call it, gay baiting?
Yes. Gay baiting, queer baiting, where you basically give just enough to hint at something, but you are still, your primary concern is not alienating the larger audience.
Right.
So you bait the queer community into hopefully loving something, but you don't actually give them the recognition that is deserved for the characters.
Yes, I'm again, it doesn't have to be this huge, super gay scene, but I feel as though this relationship and these feelings are a huge part of the character motivation
Absolutely.
of Dumbledore and his choice to delay the duel.
Oh yes, and certainly just having had this back and forth and having had what Jude Law explained to be a very intense relationship between the two. We don't know whether that extends into sexuality or not, but regardless, having an intense relationship, be it physical or not, changes a person. Mm-hmm. And so having that past, I think, is really important to explore because it gives deeper meaning to the motivations of Dumbledore as a character.
Yes, absolutely.
It would probably explain why he got into teaching, why he was a Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher like we saw in the trailer, rather than being Transfiguration Professor, which is what he was in the books. So there's something there. There's a lot that has yet to be explained, and I feel that discarding the whole Grindelwald relationship would really be doing a disservice to Dumbledore as a character. So, unfortunately, all we know at this point is that the two actors didn't even meet for this second movie, so there's not going to be anything in the second movie. And there's a lot of people upset about that, myself included.
Yes.
I was hoping for a little bit, but really I think the extent of what we're going to see in this upcoming Crimes of Grindelwald movie is just that he's in the Mirror of Erised. Certainly in later movies, this is a 5-part series, in later movies, I really want more.
Yes, I do too. So, I mean, in 5 movies, if they can't explain that a little bit, then that's really disappointing and
Very.
Doesn't do justice to the characters that have been created.
It wouldn't at all. This is a very developmental, integral part of Dumbledore's character. When you look at his past, there are only a couple mile markers that we've been given in his timeline, and Grindelwald is a big one.
Yeah,
so
we probably know more about that time in his life than we know about anything else.
Than we know about his own family.
Yeah.
All we know is that there was a dispute because of Grindelwald between him and his brother, and his sister Ariana was very troubled, and there's all sorts of fan theories about that as well, but we know that Grindelwald played a very large role in Dumbledore's life and in his disputes with his own family and everything. So to not show that would be terrible. That would be a very, very terrible move, I think, on the franchise's part. But we will have to see ultimately. We know this character is gay. J.K. Rowling has explicitly said as much. Now we just want to see it. We want her to follow through with it. And because she has been actively a part of the making of these movies, I'm hoping that she wins out on that, and that it won't just be film execs and people behind the scenes cutting things that they might have filmed even, and not including them because what if we alienate part of the audience? I'm hoping that won't be the issue. I'm hoping that won't win out, because it has countless times in the past. That is true. So we can hope, and heck, even beyond Dumbledore, I would love to see other characters. Even in passing. It can be extras in the background snogging. I don't care. I would love to see some ladies in a corner or something. Just anything would be a nice acknowledgement that, yes, there are queer wizards in the wizarding world.
Well, one way we could possibly see other queer wizards is through gaming.
Ooh, indeed.
Yes.
Also a good segue.
Like in Hogwarts Mystery.
Mm-hmm.
So Kris, by the way, has some really great videos on Hogwarts Mystery. I will link one of them here. I finally learned the right place to point. It's here.
For cards.
This way. It took me a really long time, you guys.
It's a learning curve.
It is. We're not professionals at this.
We're still all just starting, really.
Yeah. But for those of you who are not playing, honestly, you're not missing that much.
No.
But it is fun. It's a way to pass a couple minutes a few times a day.
Yes. A Hogwarts Mystery is a game by Jam City, which is basically a self-insertion kind of role-playing game. You create your own character, you go to Hogwarts as a student, you take classes, you interact with people. But it's basically just tap away your energy for 2 minutes and then wait for 3 hours for it to refill. It's relatively easy and therefore boring as a game, but even in that game, like, there are little sparkles of hope. I think somebody took a screenshot and sent it to me that was basically a female student in the background making one of those comments when you tap away your energy and you complete a little task, it pops up a little piece of dialogue at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And it was a female student asking if another female student fancied her or something like that.
Oh, and okay. I did not notice that.
I misplaced the picture, of course, and so I can no longer prove it, but I believe that there was a screenshot where it was a female asking about a female,
Rowan,
do you think they like me, kind of thing. But yes, let's get to Rowan as well, because that's always fun.
Rowan is your first friend at Hogwarts, and Rowan is the same sex as you. So you can choose to play as a witch or a wizard.
It's very gendered, and that is its own problem in a way, but that's the way the game is.
Anyway, so Rowan is the same sex as you. I'm playing as a witch in the game, so Rowan is a fellow witch, and Rowan is also in the same house as you.
No matter what house you choose to be in, no matter what sex you choose to play in the game, Rowan is the same as you, so that you have a common denominator, a common friend.
And what I have found out through other people playing is that Rowan is a huge fan of Bill Weasley.
I just got to this part in the game. I'm way behind everybody else. Most people are in year 4. I'm in the middle of year 2, where you first meet Bill Weasley, and Rowan is thirsty AF.
Yes.
Rowan wants to follow Bill around.
Which I totally get, because Bill Weasley is beautiful.
He's gorgeous in the game.
He's beautiful.
But beyond that, he's also smart and a very talented wizard. And I believe he's
studious, and he loves his family.
Yeah, honestly, he's a Weasley, and he's the eldest Weasley boy. So we do have a lot of fun just interacting with him for our own character. But our best friend over here is completely enamored with him. But the wonderful thing about that is, because Rowan is a gender swap character, depending on how you play the game, this can be a sort of gay hero worship infatuation of sorts. And so it's really fun to see the male version of Rowan Khanna really going after Bill Weasley. It's hilarious.
Yeah, because he's like, can I just follow Bill Weasley around?
If he ever needs a study partner, or, wants someone to follow him around all the time.
Yes, I'll do that.
And we're like,
I volunteer.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will, Rowan. Oh man, when I discovered that Rowan had a thing for Bill, I was laughing because I thought it was great.
Amazing.
I was like, thirsty character, and it doesn't matter what gender that character happens to be.
It's wonderful.
So, in a way, that's very progressive for the franchise.
A little bit.
And I'm not sure if they intended that or not, but they had to have known when they baited everything, if we make, a character that is dependent on what gender or sex the main person chooses, if we make any sort of romantic interaction, it's going to go back and forth.
It's going to be gay half the time.
Yeah, or simply a bisexual character, period.
Bisexual.
So, yay, bisexuals! Finally! Bi erasure is a terrible thing and very, very pervasive. So it's great to see a character that could be perceived as a bisexual character. And, if you want to really push it, you could see him as genderqueer or even a trans character. Though J.K. Rowling's never answered any of my tweets about how you would deal with trans characters at Hogwarts. Because everything is so gendered.
Everything is super gendered.
Super gendered. You're either a witch or a wizard. Well, what about the in-between? Where would you dorm? Where would you bunk? How would this happen? And, you know, that's one of the reasons I'm way into transfiguration class, because if I could change my form like that, I would. Absolutely. Whether that be more neutral or more masculine than how I currently appear. But that sort of element, I think, would create a lot of intrigue. You could really flesh out a character like that, I think, in the wizarding world, but we've never seen it before. So I like to think of Rowan as not only bisexual, but perhaps somewhere on the trans spectrum. It's fun to fantasize.
Yes, I agree. So one of the other things in Hogwarts Mystery is you build up relationships, you build up friendships with people. And one of the things that a lot of players would really like to see in the game is dating.
Romance.
And the question is, one, of course, is Jam City going to add dating as an element to the game? And two, if they do you have choice over your romantic partners?
Are you basically shoehorned into liking, interacting, and courting a specific character, or do you have free will in the matter? Because I'm down for romancing Marilla.
That would be awesome!
I'm down for it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm playing a witch in the game. It really wouldn't matter whether I was male or female. I am Slytherin.
Yeah, I'm a Ravenclaw.
And I'm sorry, but speaking as someone who's playing a Slytherin in the game, that makes me the same house as Marilla, which means that we would be sharing a bunk.
Oh yeah, totally. Mm-hmm.
We are both female in the game, and therefore, she's in my room every night. And not only would that create hilarious drama in between us, like the chit-chat back and forth, the banter would be hilarious.
How do you gossip about your girlfriend if she's in the bed next to you?
Right? It also just would make nighttime stuff just interesting, shall we say? Let's keep this
we're
child
family friendly here.
Family friendly, but romance.
Keep in mind we are both adults.
Yes,
so,
but romance with Marilla would be hilarious
totally
as a Slytherin female in the game.
Yes.
So I am down for that if it happens. Jam City, if you are watching, I would really love to see that.
I personally would like to date Tonks. Actually, I'd like to date Bill and Tonks, like both of them. If we're talking about fictional characters,
right?
You know, I'm monogamous in real life, but I totally support poly relationships.
Sure.
So,
mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. Or even if you can just date like multiple people, like, you know, be casual.
Well, and
at 14, you don't need a serious relationship.
It's also a thing to think mechanically in the game. If you can increase your friendship level to a point where getting romantic, can you decrease your friendship levels as well? So could you theoretically for year 6 be into one character and then fall from grace with that character and court a different one?
That would be really interesting.
Would it have to be a constant or not? You see this in a lot of games like the Dragon Age games. You can, depending on your choices, increase or decrease how much that character likes you. So, depending on how complex they make it, and I realize that this is typically not the most complex game.
No, it's not. It's really simple.
This is really like reaching for the stars here. But, depending on how complex they make it, you could theoretically court more than one person. I don't know if they would then force you to choose between them, or if it would just be you can only romance one at a time, or if you can change between the years.
The friendship levels, like what if you have romance levels, and then you can choose to level up, and I don't know, that'd be interesting.
These would be other choices that you would have to make within dialogue situations, I think, in order to give you point, much like we can gain attributes, we could gain or perhaps lose friendship/romance points with the various characters.
Well, and like the having a meal with a friend, playing gobstones, or drinking butterbeer, you have these friendship conversations. You can have romantic conversations.
It would be interesting if we had choices like that. If we could choose to make it, choose to make butterbeer an intimate affair rather than just a friendly elbow rubbing. It would be interesting to see that dynamic play out in the game. Do I hold high hopes? Not necessarily. Not really, but there's an opportunity, and I feel that Jam City will be wasting an opportunity if they don't address it at all.
And I will say, I am tentatively hopeful that dating will be a thing. Since we're still in the middle of year 4 in regards to content, maybe it wouldn't come out until year 6. because
Mm-hmm.
aside from the whole disastrous date with Cho that Harry goes on, there's very little romantic relationships.
Romantic relationships didn't really come into the fore until well into year 6. I mean, that's when we were having all the issues with love potions,
oh my God,
which are. I'm gonna have to do a whole video just on the ethics of love potions.
Yeah, that's
and because I am potions master, this is a thing that will definitely be happening. But you really didn't see a lot of romantic involvement. You saw Harry having feelings for Cho since year 4.
Yeah, no, even before he notices her in year 3.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay.
I totally called it.
I reread the book, but yeah, you're like, oh,
so, like,
a named character got noticed.
I saw this because, like, Harry has, like, a wish in his stomach, and he says that it had nothing to do with flying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Harry's totally into Cho.
Totally into her.
So, yeah, you guys, I, like, obsess about
details.
The details. Like,
little things like that. I like that JK sort of.
Right, she just sort of
whether she initially intended it or not, whether it was like, I'm going to put this in so I can develop it later, or she realized, hey, I have this one throwaway line, let's develop it.
Do more of that.
But I do like that she does that throughout the books. But yes, so he might have inklings of feelings.
It's like very little.
Very little, and everything's complicated with Cedric and the whole Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
Fiasco that happens. You know, there's a lot of stress happening and very real physical danger happening in year 4. So that sort of took away from romantic entanglements, which is a good thing. But then in year 5 and definitely in year 6, you see it coming to the fore. So I could see
them not
touching it until year 6. I would not be surprised at all.
Which gives them more time to develop it. And
it would be very strange if we learned the Amortentia potion in year 6, and that was a way that they introduced romance in the game.
Oh, I like that idea.
I'm a writer.
And
this is what I do.
The potions master, also.
Thank you. I could see them putting romance in the game, and that's one way that I think that they could do it, but it remains to be seen. It's definitely a complex piece of coding in the game, so there's no telling whether they will devote the man-hours necessary to actually flesh it out the way that we would hope.
Well, and if they do, it might just be a really simple, like a variation on the friendship levels where there's not a lot going on.
Yeah, where you're doing the same multiple choice questions.
Over and over again.
Until they get to know you so much better.
Oh my goodness. I know we've been like bashing on Hogwarts Mystery, but it is fun. I do like it.
It's fun. It's a guilty pleasure. I mean, it's problematic for sure, but it is fun. It doesn't take that much time out of your day.
It's just like a silly little game.
It's a silly little game, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So,
anything else?
I feel like we have like really thoroughly covered LGBTQ.
I would say, as far as where we currently are.
Yes.
And what we hope for.
What we have and what we would like. There's
a wide margin.
There's a really big. Can I like put my below the camera? Like you can't even see what we have. And
yeah, we
above
don't.
The camera.
We don't have much at all in the way of representation, but there are a lot of ways that it could be implemented.
There's opportunities.
There are totally opportunities. So one hopes that one will take advantage of said opportunities, and hopefully we'll get a bit more representation as we go along, especially with regards to the Fantastic Beasts film franchise. I really think that's
high hopes.
That's high hopes. That's help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
You're
my only hope. There are a lot of opportunities, and I do hope that maybe we'll see a little bit of Durmstrang thrown in there too. Grindelwald was expelled from Durmstrang, so it could be fun. We can maybe
see a whole new wizarding school.
We are already seeing, the America with Makusa and everything. So I would love to see some Ilvermorny. I would love to see some Durmstrang. It would be great.
Yes, and Beauxbaton.
Beauxbaton.
Yes.
Vivi.
Okay, on that note, I do end my thing with French, so was that another segue?
Wonderful! Unintentional segue.
Unintentional segue to the closing. Anyway, so those are all of our thoughts. We want to know your thoughts, so leave a comment down below. Don't forget to, let's see, all the things you're supposed to do. You're supposed to subscribe.
Subscribe. Check out my channel.
Check out Kris's channel. It'll be linked below and at the end. So find Wizard Way. Her channel is great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So until next time, au revoir, witches.
Bye. This is fun.
Yay!